The wedding night that ended in murder. The wind howled through the cliffs of Glacier National Park that night, carrying a chill sharp enough to cut through bone. Below, the darkness seemed endless, the rocky valley swallowing every sound. Somewhere in that black void, the echo of a man's final scream faded into silence. Moments earlier, the couple stood near the edge, newlyweds, just 8 days into marriage. The bride, Jordan Graham, trembled not from cold, but from anger. The groom, Cody Johnson, smiled at her, unaware of how close he was to death. "Why are we even here, Jordan?" he asked, his voice calm, almost pleading. Her eyes were wet but empty. "You wanted to see the view," she replied. Then she took a small step forward, her hands trembling. The next moment happened fast, too fast. Cody stumbled backward as her hands hit his chest. His face twisted in shock, his foot slipped on the gravel, and in one horrifying instant, he disappeared over the edge. The sound of his fall echoed once, then nothing. Silence. Just the whisper of the wind. Jordan froze. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just stood there, staring into the void where her husband had vanished, the man she had married only a week ago. When she finally turned away, her face was pale, her breathing slow. She walked back toward her car as if sleepwalking, leaving behind the place that would become the center of a national mystery, the cliff where love ended in death. And that was how the wedding night that ended in murder began. But the next morning, when Jordan returned home alone, pretending nothing had happened, her world started to unravel. It had been only 8 days since their wedding, a small ceremony in Kalispell, Montana. The photos still sat on their kitchen table. Cody in his black suit, smiling, eyes bright with happiness. Jordan, in her lace gown, clutching flowers, her expression shy and hesitant. Everyone who saw the pictures said the same thing. They looked perfect together. Cody, 25, was a car enthusiast, easygoing and full of energy. He loved adventure, laughter, and life itself. Jordan, 22, was quieter, reserved, and deeply religious. She had always been described as polite but distant, a young woman who didn't open up easily. Their relationship had seemed fast but genuine. Friends said Cody adored her, often calling her his angel. But Jordan's friends noticed cracks, doubts she shared in whispers. She had confided to one that she wasn't sure she was ready for marriage. Another remembered her saying, "Sometimes I feel trapped." But she went through with it. On June 29, 2013, surrounded by friends and family, they said their vows in a church filled with smiles. Cody couldn't stop grinning. Jordan, though beautiful in her dress, seemed uneasy. Her best friend later recalled how she whispered, "It just doesn't feel right." Still, no one imagined how wrong it would go. After the ceremony, they spent a few quiet days together. Cody was thrilled to start their life as a couple, posting on social media, "Married the love of my life." Jordan, however, barely posted anything. She spent most of her time texting her friends, saying she felt weird and confused. Then came that fateful night. Cody had told friends he and Jordan were going for a drive to a place she wanted to show him, a surprise. That was the last time anyone saw him alive. 2 days later, Jordan walked into the local police station. Her face was pale, her voice flat. "My husband is missing," she said softly. The officers asked when she last saw him. "Sunday night," she replied. "He went out with some friends to a party and never came home." Something about her tone made the officer frown. She seemed too calm, too rehearsed. They filed the report anyway and sent out alerts. Volunteers searched trails, rivers, and forests. Helicopters circled Glacier National Park. Cody's friends and family refused to believe he'd just walked away. "He loved life too much," his mother said, tears streaming down her face. "He wouldn't just vanish." But while everyone searched, Jordan acted strange. She barely cried. She avoided interviews. When friends came to comfort her, she said little. Then, 1 week later, something unexpected happened. Jordan suddenly called the police. "I think I know where he might be," she said. Detectives were shocked. "What do you mean?" one asked. "I had a feeling," she said quietly. I think he might be near the loop trail in Glacier. When officers asked how she knew that, she couldn't explain. I just had a dream, she said. It was a strange claim. And yet, when police followed her to the site, they found Cody's car parked near the trailhead. And then, hours later, they found his body at the bottom of a steep ravine. The discovery hit the community like an earthquake. Cody's friends were devastated. It doesn't make sense, one said.
He knew those trails.
He wouldn't fall. The investigators agreed. The area where he'd fallen wasn't an easy place to reach. It required climbing past a guardrail and walking dangerously close to the edge. So how did he end up there? At first, it looked like an accident. But soon, small details began to raise suspicions. Jordan's story changed several times. First, she said he went out with friends. Then she said he went hiking alone. Later, she admitted they had gone together but claimed they argued, and he walked away angry. Each time, detectives noted how her version shifted, how her tone lacked emotion. And then there was the strangest part, how she had found him. Her dream explanation didn't sit right. The exactness of her direction, the very location where he fell, felt too specific. It was as if she had already known exactly where he was. When the autopsy report came back, the case grew darker. Cody had injuries consistent with a fall, yes, but also bruises on his forearms, marks suggesting he had been pushed. As suspicion grew, the FBI joined the case. Agents began to dig into Jordan's phone records, messages, and emails. What they found painted a troubling picture. The night before Cody died, Jordan texted a friend saying she was having second thoughts about marriage. She wrote, "I'm not happy. I feel like it's not what I thought it would be." Another message revealed even more. "Tomorrow will be tough. I'm not sure what to do." The next day, the day Cody died, she sent her friend another text. "I'm going to talk to him about it today. Pray for me." Those messages were the first real clues that something had gone terribly wrong long before the fall. When police confronted Jordan, they asked her again about that day. She hesitated. Her voice cracked slightly. "It was an accident," she whispered. "What kind of accident?" "We were arguing. He was pulling at me. I pushed him away." "Pushed him where?" She looked down. Tears welled in her eyes for the first time. "Off the cliff." The room went silent. Detectives exchanged glances. After weeks of confusion, the truth, or at least part of it, had come out. But the story didn't end there. When they asked why, Jordan said something that stunned them all. "I was afraid he'd never let me go," she said. "I wanted it to stop. I didn't mean for him to die." The news spread across the country like wildfire. Headlines read, "Newlywed charged with murder after husband found in Glacier National Park." People couldn't believe it. A young bride, killing her husband just days after their wedding? It sounded like a movie, but it was all real. As more evidence surfaced, the case became one of the most talked about crimes in America. In court, prosecutors described a chilling scene of betrayal. The woman who had promised "till death do us part" had delivered that vow herself. But Jordan's defense painted her differently, not as a killer, but as a scared young woman who made a terrible mistake. Still, there was one haunting detail that no one could forget. After pushing Cody, she went home and acted as if nothing had happened. She went to church, visited friends, and even sent messages pretending to search for him. One text read, "Still no word. I'm so worried." The deception shocked everyone, including Cody's family, who sat in court, silent and broken. As the trial continued, one final piece of evidence sealed Jordan's fate. FBI experts discovered that she had searched the internet days before the murder for phrases like "how to disappear" and "accidents in Glacier National Park." The jury gasped when those details were revealed. And in that moment, it became clear. Cody's death had not been a tragic accident. It was planned. Jordan Graham would eventually plead guilty to second-degree murder, admitting that she had pushed him in anger. But her confession came too late for the man who trusted her most. And as she sat in her cell awaiting sentencing, one chilling thought hung in the air. If love can turn deadly in just 8 days, what really happened in the final moments before she pushed him? because Jordan's last words before the fatal shove were never fully revealed. And that mystery, what she said, what he replied, still echoes through the cliffs of Glacier National Park, a haunting reminder of the wedding night that ended in murder. The courtroom was silent when Jordan Graham entered. Her head was bowed, her wrists bound in cuffs. Reporters filled the benches, cameras waiting outside the courthouse doors. The woman who had once worn a wedding dress now stood before the judge in a plain orange jumpsuit. For a moment, it was hard to connect this quiet young woman with the horrifying story that had gripped the nation, a bride who pushed her husband off a cliff only days after saying, "I do." As she took her seat, her eyes didn't rise to meet the crowd. But Cody Johnson's family was there. His mother clutched a photo of him in his tuxedo, smiling. His father's face was stone, unreadable. They were here for justice, and answers that might never come. The judge cleared his throat. Court is now in session. And so began one of the most haunting trials Montana had ever seen. From the very first day, the prosecution's story was simple and devastating. Jordan Graham had married Cody even though she didn't love him, and when she realized she couldn't live with her decision, she made an unthinkable choice. The prosecutor held up a wedding photo.
8 days, he said.
That's how long this marriage lasted before it ended in tragedy. He turned to the jury. The defendant didn't just make a mistake. She made a plan. Then he played the video of investigators questioning Jordan, the one where she finally admitted what happened on the cliff. The courtroom listened as her voice filled the speakers. "We were arguing," she said softly. "He grabbed my arm. I pushed him away. Then he fell." The room fell completely silent. The prosecutor paused the video, then leaned forward. "She says she pushed him to get away. But what she doesn't say is that she knew exactly how close they were to the edge." He clicked the remote again, showing photographs of the cliff, a jagged drop of 300 feet, sharp rocks at the bottom. "Anyone who stood there would know that one step back meant death," he said. The defense painted a very different picture. They described Jordan as a scared, confused young woman, raised in a strict religious family, pressured into marriage, and emotionally unprepared for adult life. "She didn't push him out of hate," her lawyer said gently. "She pushed him out of fear. She panicked." Jordan sat motionless. Her expression barely changed as her lawyer spoke about her upbringing, her shyness, and her deep anxiety. But to Cody's family, the explanation sounded hollow. "She didn't just panic," his mother whispered to a friend in the gallery. "She left him to die." As the trial continued, more secrets about their short marriage came to light. Friends testified that Jordan had been distant even before the wedding. One bridesmaid said, "She looked sad walking down the aisle, not happy." Another friend revealed that Jordan told her, "I think I made a mistake. I don't know if I love him." Cody's coworkers described him as madly in love and so proud to be married. He talked about their honeymoon plans, about starting a family. He had no idea his new wife was already planning to leave him, or worse. Then came the text messages. The prosecutor read them aloud to the courtroom, his tone grim. "I'm just not sure this is right. Sometimes I wish I could just disappear. Tomorrow I'll talk to him. I don't know what will happen." The date of that last text? The day Cody died. Forensic experts were next to take the stand. They showed the jury photographs of the scene, the slope, and the rocks below. They explained that Cody's injuries, bruises on his arms and chest, were consistent with being pushed, not from simply losing his balance. One expert said, based on the impact and trajectory, the fall was sudden, without any attempt to brace or grab. It was as if he didn't see it coming. Those words made Cody's mother cry quietly in her seat. Then came one of the most chilling pieces of evidence, a message Jordan sent after her husband had already fallen. While search teams were still out looking for Cody, she texted a friend. "It's crazy. I had a dream about where he might be. I think I'll go check it out." The friend replied, "Be careful." Jordan answered, "Don't worry. I think I'll find him soon." The courtroom gasped when the prosecutor showed that she had led investigators directly to the exact spot where the body was found. How could she have known, the prosecutor asked, unless she had already been there? Jordan looked down. her face blank. The FBI agent who interviewed her described the moment she broke down. She sat there for an hour saying it was an accident, he said. But the more we pressed, the more her story changed. He paused before adding, when she finally said, "I pushed him," she didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just said it like a fact. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed as people debated the case. Some thought she was a cold-hearted killer. Others saw a frightened young woman trapped in a bad marriage. But inside, the truth was harder to deny. The prosecution ended with a final statement that sent a chill through the room. "Marriage is built on trust," the prosecutor said. Cody trusted her enough to stand near the edge of a cliff. And she betrayed that trust in the most permanent way possible. He turned toward Jordan. This wasn't just a crime of passion. It was a choice. When it was time for the defense, Jordan finally stood to speak. Her voice was trembling. "I loved Cody," she said softly. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. We argued. He wouldn't let me go. I got scared. I pushed him away. I never wanted him to die." Her words hung in the air like fog. Some in the courtroom believed her. Others saw it as another performance, another attempt to appear innocent. Cody's mother wiped her eyes. "She can say she's sorry," she whispered, "but he's still gone." The jury deliberated for hours. Then, as the sun set outside the courthouse, they filed back in. The foreperson stood up, holding the verdict slip in shaking hands. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Jordan Graham, guilty of second-degree murder." Jordan didn't flinch. Cody's mother let out a sob of relief. The courtroom erupted in whispers. The judge nodded solemnly. "Ms. Graham, you've been found guilty of causing the death of your husband, Cody Johnson. You will serve your sentence in federal prison." Her face remained blank as the deputies led her away. Months later, at her sentencing, the judge spoke with heavy emotion. "You took a life," he said. "You robbed a family of their son and a community of their friend. And you did it in a place of great beauty, a national park, that will forever carry the stain of what you did." He sentenced her to 30 years in prison. As she was let out, Cody's family stood together, holding each other. The judge's gavel came down once, a sound that echoed like final closure. But even as justice was served, questions lingered. What truly happened on that cliff? Was it rage? Fear? Cold calculation? Even investigators couldn't fully agree. Some believed Jordan acted in a moment of panic. Others believed she planned it all along: the fight, the location, the push. To this day, Glacier National Park draws curious visitors who stand near the spot where Cody fell. Many say the wind feels different there, sharp, cold, heavy with silence. Locals whisper that on quiet nights, if you listen closely, you can still hear the echo of a man calling out, followed by the sound of wind rushing through the canyon. Years later, Jordan Graham remains behind bars. She spends her days in quiet isolation, reading, writing letters, and avoiding interviews. But every so often, she sends a message to her family, the same words repeated again and again. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. Cody's mother keeps his photo on her mantle, surrounded by candles. Every anniversary of his death, she visits Glacier National Park. She lays a single white flower near the cliff and whispers a prayer for her son. For her, the nightmare never truly ends. Because what began as a wedding filled with laughter, flowers, and promises ended as one of the darkest stories of love and betrayal America has ever known. And as the sun sets over the park, the cliffs glow gold for a moment before fading into shadow, a silent monument to the wedding night that ended in murder.